Welcome everyone. Today is Saturday. It is July. No, it's June. It's June 18th.
July, jeez, where have you been?
Where's the time going, man? I don't know anymore. But it's that day, and this is episode 66. I'm calling it the Weeping City of Lore, and we have none other than the great Ethys here today.
None other than the great
Ethys.
Oh my
Is that good? I was trying.
That's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good. That's a much better intro than I ever get from Mike.
Yeah, well,
He just goes, "Oh yeah, and Ethys."
this effort.
Yeah, I'm used to this one. You should just
do this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually hitting you on my
cue.
camera, I think, so it's actually...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better.
Hey, do this real quick. Do this the same way you were doing it before.
Yeah,
Ready?
you want me to do it the other way? Or this way? This way?
No, other way,
Am I
other way.
That way?
No, high five, man. Come on. Ready?
Yeah.
No,
This way?
the other hand. Yeah, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, God, you suck. You suck. It was so close, man.
It's
It's
so
just
close.
like,
It was
it's
a
like
close
doing a
one?
high five and then doing this. Just like,
Oh,
come on,
okay.
man.
All right.
It's okay, man. It's
That's
all right.
awkward. That's
Well,
really awkward.
Anyways, today we are going to talk about lore, which we haven't talked about in a while. And I'm sorry for the absence. I've been gone. Last weekend we kind of went through the Comic-Con show, but we didn't really have a show dedicated to that day. It was just kind of going through that show. And then the weekend before that, we didn't have a show because I was at Comic-Con. So I figured we'd start it up nice and light with two well-dressed men with one button down. I should have not wore this undershirt, and I feel kind of like less sexy because of
You just got to show a little bit of this.
a little bit of that. Just we're gonna get banned on Twitch, man. We're gonna get banned on Twitch. So everyone's been playing Final Fantasy XIV's newest patch and doing the 24-man, which has been really, really amazing, at least to see. You know a lot more about it than most people, I would imagine, at this.
Hopefully. I hope so.
That's kind of your thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I try to know more about things than most people, considering like, a lot of people rely on me to tell them, I should say, about the things.
About the things,
So,
and the stuff, and the do, and the what?
yeah, the people, and the who's it, and the what's it, and the how's it, and particularly the how's it. You'd be amazed at how many people are interested in the how's.
And the houses?
In the how's it. As
How's
opposed to just the what's it. You know what I mean?
How's it? Like,
Yeah.
is that an Australian thing? I'm just gonna everything I don't understand. I'm gonna say, is that an Australian thing?
Yeah. Well, anything that you don't. I could say anything. I could be speaking in gibberish, and you'd be like, "Wow, this is like some kind of amazing Australian cultural thing, isn't it? Wow."
Yeah.
We're experiencing a lesson in sociology right here. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, let's get back to the game. Hold on. Let's talk about that for now. We'll get back to sociology here in a second, because I do want to dive into that. I'm sure with you. I actually want to talk about you for a second at this. What you been up to, man? What are you doing, content-wise, making stuff?
Oh, geez. Well, again, this is really good timing because I just did a lore tour of Weeping City, and you know when the patch first comes out, that's always like my priority is to go through each of the new dungeons and do like my thing with that. Also with, you know, the new relics, new Hildebrand, basically like all the new content. I cut it up in little pieces and be like, all right, what's the interesting lore stuff that I can talk about here? So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay.
The other thing, which is not particularly Final Fantasy XIV related, which I'm really excited for, is I've just recently launched a new podcast that's more about like gaming culture and the effects that video games like digital spaces have on various slices of our community, such as like LGBT community, such as people suffering, you know, depression and anxiety, Asperger's. I'm talking to a guy who's doing a PhD in philosophy, and we're talking about the sort of ASD spectrum and the effect that that gaming has on that. So I'm really excited for this new project.
I gotcha. That sounds extremely interesting. Did you start that already? Like, you already have your first episode
I started
up?
a few weeks ago. Yeah, I got 2 episodes up. I started a few weeks ago. I launched it with Mr. Happy, just because I thought it would be like a good way for my audience, like, you know, ease into it and give them a chance to kind of get get hooked. And I did an episode with Ascalia from Limit Break Radio
Right.
on what it's like, the effects that gaming has on people with alternative gender identity issues, and it was really interesting. It was a really good episode. It was a little bit I I don't want to admit it, but I got a little bit of hate mail from that one, which was really disappointing.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it, and I don't want to out anyone or anything, but like, yeah, some people thought that like me talking about, like LGBT issues was like surprising. And I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? Like I'm the most liberal dude in the world.
Right.
Yeah, so but
Alright.
other, it's been overwhelmingly positive. So I'm really happy with it.
When do you do that? Is it
When
just
do I
like,
do it?
do you do it offline?
It's not.
and
It's
you-
not. It's not
okay.
live. It's offline. It's sort of a classic old school podcast, and I've got those coming out every few weeks or so. So
That's awesome.
it sounds
man.
interesting. Check that out. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
What was the name of it? Like if they look it up?
It's called The Lucid Grind, but you can find it on my YouTube channel easily enough. And we're waiting for iTunes approval and all of that kind of good stuff. But we're looking at some pretty big names coming on. I'm talking to Scarlett Rose, who's a Twitch partner, in a
Right.
couple of weeks. I'm in the middle of harassing Brotato,
Oh yeah.
which is wishful thinking, but you never know.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be up for it at some point. I don't think that he'd be completely against it.
Hmm.
All right. So another question I have about you in particular is your travel plans in October.
Oh, dude, I'm there.
You're there?
Yeah, I'm there. I booked my flight and my my hotel yesterday. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna launch some kind of crowdfunding thing, or basically I'm gonna try to sell some t-shirts. You guys will see that on my channel. If you follow my channel, you'll probably see that in the next couple of days. But I'm definitely going. It's not gonna be like iffy about whether I'm going or not. What's iffy is whether I'm gonna be able to eat between now and then.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. So are you gonna be there like Friday? Are you gonna be there like Thursday? Are you gonna go early?
I'm flying in on the Thursday. And I'm leaving on Monday. So I'll be there for several days. So if people are in Vegas and they want to hang out, yeah, like you guys know how to contact me. I'm absolutely down to clown.
Yeah, I want to be there Thursday as well because I think that having that extra day to get with everyone else that came there an extra day is going to make the next few days a lot better.
Yeah, I'm also I'm staying in a suite with a bunch of my FC mates, which is going to be really it's going to be really tight.
How many people?
So there's two from Melbourne, two of my good mates from Melbourne. I'm coming up from Sydney, and our FC leader Viv, who's living in Virginia at the moment, she's going to be there, and we're all going to be sharing a suite together, which is going to be pretty. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really good.
Man, this FanFest might be a little bit crazier than last time. There's
Really?
still more
Why is
tickets because people
it's
saw
gonna be a
the
lot
first
more people.
FanFest. And
There's going to be a lot more people.
Yeah, tons more people.
But it's a much bigger venue. The Paris is, as far as I've heard, is a much, much bigger venue.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going. There's no way that I'm not going to go. And so I guess I'll see you there. We go eat some sushi or something, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, you know what? I got an idea of getting like a room dedicated, like a little conference room or something, just a small room that I can just get dedicated for all of the people in the streaming community and the content creator community to kind of go to and just hang out.
Yeah.
And hang out with everybody else in that community.
Just separate ourselves from everyone and,
have your little special
hang out our
room.
little VIP zone.
Yeah. It's a meet and greet on VIP zone. Yeah. No, it'd be fun. Just because it gets crazy when you're
like standing at the red rope, which like separates us from like the plebs, and just be like, I'm doing our buttons.
I'm doing our buttons. Yeah. No. Because when you get there, it's going to be insane. It's going to be meeting tons and tons of people, and you don't really get that chance to meet the other people who are in the community with you making stuff.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so I want to have that happen just because I love everyone that's in the community right now.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Anyways, we'll get to that in some other time. I do want to go ahead and introduce our topic a little bit better now. So, the Weeping City is an extremely amazing area. I'm going to be honest, when I went into it, I really don't understand what's going on. when I went into the Weeping City. I have an idea. There's pirates involved. There's a cat that is from Final Fantasy VII involved. And then there's that's the just and Diablos, demons and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you're on this.
Yeah.
There's this big ship that you got on previously with all these like coffins and evil demonic stuff. And so I feel like there's a lot more going on than I'm seeing.
So you're not watching cutscenes. You're not.
I am watching the cutscenes and I'm reading it, but I feel like I'm kind of following it. Like there was an artifact that they were going for in this whole one, and like somehow it was a little bit much. Anyways, what I want you to do for me, Mr. Ethys here.
Sure.
Mr. Asher, right? Asher would be better. Ethys
Mr. Asher's my father.
Okay, your father. Well, then is your father there? Can he answer for me?
No, sorry, he's down south at the moment.
Oh,
I call him.
Nah.
I mean, he probably knows heaps about Final Fantasy 14.
He does.
No,
I talked
not
to
at
all.
all.
Okay.
Not even a little.
So, tell me, give me a quick summary. What are we doing here in the Weeping City, man? What's going on?
Well, how far back do you want me to go?
Just the start of all right, basically the gist of why we even went to the Weeping City, and then what we're doing in there.
All right, so basically what's happening in Eorzea at the moment is we're just starting to develop, the technology to explore the skies, as it were. And, there's a lot of independent factions that are getting themselves skyships, a few of which are these different pirate factions. And one of them, well, they've all noticed this ghost ship flying around the Sea of Clouds. Some of them want to control it. Some of them want to make sure that no one's controlling it because they want the skies to be free for everyone. Anyway, we get drawn into the Void Ark and wrapped up into something that's much bigger than any of us and find out that it is the relic of an ancient civilization, the Mhaki, whom were largely responsible for the calamity before ours at the end of the War of the Magi 1,500 years ago. They seriously made a mess of absolutely everything. So we've done that. We've cleared that out, and they have Diablos has managed to release from the Void Ark the Voidscent Queen Skathak, who is apparently a bit of a badass and out for blood. So we've recently discovered there's a little, the Red Bill Pirates, our pirate faction, they've got a little other fellow engineer who's made this special Void Ark seeking compass thing. And she didn't really seem to understand how it worked so well, given that it was pointing towards the Yifeam Saltmoor. When Koshi discovered that, Koshi being our little cat friend, he realized that was the capital of the ancient Mhaki. And there's a massive number of Voidscent heading over there. And he's worried that what they're after is basically a Mhaki doomsday device called the Null Stone, this artifact which can just obliterate Voidscent and presumably anything else if people get their hands on it. It's kind of like the Mhaki equivalent of, the Dragon's Eye, or of the Tupsamati being the staff of Louis Soir, which he used to transform to Phoenix and all that nonsense. So it's something that we don't want getting into the wrong hands. So we're trying to get there before Diablos can get at it, before Skathak's minions can get at it. And of course, we have to deal with all of the Mhaki nonsense that's defending it while we're there.
So the Allegan guys are way before all this too, right?
Yeah, the Allegan Empire fell about 5,000 years ago. There were several ages between the Allegans and between the War of the Magi. Okay,
and so this is Allegan's way far behind. These guys are right before us, though.
Well, they're not right before us. 1,500 years ago, when they're at the peak of their civilization, they went to war. They made an absolute mess of everything. And the elementals in the Twelveswood, their spirit of nihility, named Ohar Sok, decided, all right, enough's enough. No more war. This is all bullshit. You guys are abusing magic. I'm going to flood the whole damn world, and you're all going to die. So he did that. So what it did was it completely obliterated Amdapor, which we already know well about, which was already more or less obliterated by Diabolos, which we all know about once again. Pretty much obliterated what was left of Nim and formed the Bronze Lake, which has only just started to recede. And the Mhaki destroyed everything of theirs and completely flooded the Salt Maw, completely flooded Thanalin. But they saw it coming for long enough to be like, all right, we're going to build this ark. And we're going to escape the Great Flood in an ark in some way that sounds familiar. So they did that.
Right.
But of course, they're using Voidscent as batteries. They're building everything out of Voidscent, relying on Voidscent. And it didn't go so well. We got a kind of, what's that film? It's like a film. It's like a film. Someone keeps telling me that it's like a film. Anyway, they couldn't control the Voidscent, and basically most of the people that were alive on the Void Ark had to like sacrifice themselves to like keep the damn thing in the sky. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So all those coffins are just like batteries.
Yeah. So we, you know how we use like ethereal crystals and stuff like that as batteries, as like power sources.
Right.
The whole concept of ether is that it's in everything. It's in people. It's in plants. The idea of the crystal is that it's like this super condensed version of ether. What the Mhaki realized is that they can summon Voidscent, and the Voidscent, you know, they contain ether in their body, which is from the void. It's not from our world, so we're not using up the ether of our world. And if you trap them in a coffin, you can basically, it's like the Matrix, right?
That's exactly what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, it's exactly like the Matrix. So when you see those coffins all through the Void Ark and all through the pyramid in Mark, that's what's going on. They're batteries. They're corpses, presumably of Mhaki people or of, you know, other people, into which they have summoned Voidscent, and they're draining them for their energy, which is pretty messed up.
Yeah, no, that's really messed up. That's like a horror movie.
Yeah. So you can understand Skathark was like the big battery. She was like the main sort of fuel source for the Void Ark. You can understand now that she's been released by Diabolos why she's, you know, out to get us. She's not happy.
She's not happy that she got released? Or should she just... Why does she hate
No, I'm sure she's happy that she got released, but she was like one of the queens of the void, right? She was a big deal. She's been stuck in this bloody coffin for 1,500 years because of some mortal scumbags. It's kind of like, it's very similar to the way that Bahamut would be feeling when he got released from Dalamud. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a very, very similar thing going on here.
Okay, that kind of makes sense to me. So she's finally broken free after being in prison for so long, and now she's ready to just kill some people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we haven't seen her yet. She's descended back into the void. Diablo seems to be her sort of right-hand man, and he's the one that's kind of pulling the strings and orchestrating everything at the moment, as we've seen him and Fadiad.
All right. So I guess that kind of makes sense. That actually focuses a lot on Void Ark going into it, and so going forward towards the Weeping City, we're going to face that artifact, right? And so that's
we're
really
going to find this artifact. Yeah, we're finding this artifact that Skathark wants, and we need to get it before she does. Otherwise, there's going to be big problems for us.
Okay. I think that makes a little bit more sense to me. Now let's compare this real quick.
Sure.
This is a very epic story.
It's great.
Yeah, and so if we go back to 2.x and we're dealing with epic story, we're talking about T9 and everything else, the coils and all that good stuff.
Sure.
And then like the 24-man stuff, that was still kind of epic, but it wasn't. It was like on a very I don't know how to. It was kind of a grand scale. Like, were they at such a doomsday point with that, or were we just exploring stuff back in the old 24?
Well, again, that was a lot to do with ancient Alig and discovering that what basically led to their downfall is that they were doing the same kind of thing. They were messing around with Voidscent, making pacts with Voidscent, and they built the Crystal Tower as a way to use the energy that was being generated by Dalamud. Dalamud is like drawing all this energy into itself to contain Bahamut, but it's creating like a massive excess. So they were like, hey, we can use that energy. We can like send it down to the Crystal Tower and use the Crystal Tower as like a lightning rod, basically. That didn't go so well. It caused a massive earthquake, which destroyed pretty much everything, buried it. But there's all these, Voidscent, these undead Allegans and stuff down there. I mean, it was pretty critical. What was basically happening there is that the ancient Allegan emperor was being revived, and he was creating a fresh portal to the void through which the cloud of darkness and a whole bunch of baddies could come through. It didn't. I think you're right. Like, it was an epic story, but it didn't seem quite as critical as this one does right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were making that same complaint about Alexander, right? The problem with Alexander as opposed to with the Binding Core is the Binding Core got this like build up through 1.23b, and we had like years where we're like on the edge of our seat, you know, seeing this amazing trailer. And people are saying, yeah, we didn't really get that for Alexander, and maybe that's the reason why Alexander doesn't feel so, so epic. But we got zero build up for the Void Ark. And there's just something about it. There's just something really compelling about it, compared particularly to Alexander. I don't know what it is.
I mean, honestly, if you just add like dark elements to things, then it starts to
I think like a lot of it does have to do with the aesthetic,
creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Because people jumped all over. What's that thing called that had the creepy lady in it with the flying head?
You're talking about Editor and Avir and the Tantar Deepcroft?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
People jumped all over that, right? They were like,
that's true.
They want to pay attention to it. They care about it because it kind of scares them a little bit. So
yeah, that's true. I think the other thing was, so the Void Ark's concerned with the Mhaki, of whom were never mentioned by name during 2.x. We'd heard about the War of the Magi. We'd been to Amdapor. We'd been to the Wanderer's Palace. So we knew about the Amdapori. We knew about the Nimians. We knew about this ancient civilization of black mages, of which the lower levels of the sunken temple of Khan kind of are relics of, and that the Belladines sort of saw themselves as the children of these black mages. But we never actually heard anything about them or kind of directly entered any of their relics or ruins. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it is a little bit more hyped up.
But. You know, you keep saying we know, but honestly, it's more like you know.
Yeah, I'm using the royal we.
So
no, I mean, like we as a community.
We have the ability to know this information.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. We've had this information.
And like I think the average gamer is kind of like, not the average gamer, but the average person playing Final Fantasy and going through all this stuff is really like in awe of everything, but they don't really understand what's going on at all. I think
the average Final Fantasy 14 player is into it like after the fact. You know what I mean? Like when new content comes out, you just like, you want to get in there, you want to do the content. You don't pay too much attention to the dialogue and all of that. You know, not everyone skips it, but rarely do people like really pay attention to it. And then when they've done it and they're sort of feeling hyped about it, they're like, oh no, what was going on there? And I guess that's like the platform for my channel and what I do in a lot of ways is relying on people kind of coming back to it later and being interested in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you hear my dog by any chance?
Yes.
Yes. Is he really loud?
I hear a dog. I hear a nice dog.
A dog right there.
No, he's not loud. He's not loud.
Okay. Cool. Some kid outside slamming his shoe on the ground or something. I don't know what's going on.
Dude,
we need to get an office or something. Like
you need to get that kid. You need to go get that kid.
Get him, just like pull him up and just.
You need to get that shoe. You need to slam it in his face.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Yeah. How's it feel? Huh? Concrete doesn't like it. All right. So
we put a sock over his head.
And put a sock over his head. By the way, if you guys are wondering, yes, we're sporting our awesome socks on top of our Yetis right now.
We're sock boys.
Yeah, we're sock boys right now. I didn't have it on there, but I was convinced here by Ethys to do it. Carrara's been doing it forever. I don't do it at all, but you know what? I got a couple of little dog hairs on here too. It's good.
It's sock.
And it's a clean sock at least. Is your sock clean? Like, did you wash it before you put it on there?
It was clean. I don't know if it's still clean. It's been on there for months. I had some spiders in it. I saw like spiders coming out of it the other day. I was like, ooh.
But that's normal, right? I mean, you got spiders coming out of stuff all the time.
It's normal to have spiders coming out of your socks.
It's Australia, man.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
So, quick spider story then, complete tangent here. I was driving my car and my AC went out the other day. And by the way, it's 111 here right now, if you're wondering.
I don't know what that is in Celsius. It's like 38?
Whatever's hot, man. Whatever's just like ridiculous. Think of a ridiculous high, and then that's what it is.
All right. Okay.
All right. And so, doing that, and so I roll down my windows when I'm driving home because, man, I gotta get some air coming into the car. I look over on the window, and there's a spider that is not very nice looking spider on the very tip on the outside of the car window. Flapping there, and I'm like, this thing's about to flap into my face. And so I sit there and I roll it up and look at it, hoping to dear God it doesn't fly into my face. And luckily it goes all the way up. But that thing stayed with me on the interstate all the way to my house. Like, it just didn't want to come off.
Dude, what a boss.
He was awesome. He got squished by a sandal though, man. I can't do that. All right, so Kurt's telling me it's about 43, 48 Celsius.
Really?
43, 44 Celsius, yeah.
43 Celsius? How are you like so dry and composed?
Air conditioning, man.
Is it like a dry heat, or is it like a really humid heat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I feel like that's a little bit more tolerable. It gets really humid down here. It's awful.
Yeah, no, I couldn't take it. All right,
that's hot.
Yeah, when your AC goes out in your car, you don't want to drive anywhere anymore. All right. So let's zoom back in here. We got that summary done. We know kind of what we're doing here. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's actually in the dungeon. I'm gonna try saying these names here. You found all the monster names and everything. So give me a quick description here of the Sarcosuchus.
There you go.
Is that it?
Sarcosuchus. All right.
Yeah.
So these are the giant crocodile things that like first ambush us right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now to put this in context, Yafam's Saltmoor. We're in peat bogs here. We're in marshland.
Right.
And what Koshir was saying to us was that the floods from the Great Flood that happened 1,500 years ago, they've basically only recently begun to recede. So if you have a look at the map, we're just northwest of Mordona, and we're in like this delta. The river, the White Maiden, sort of sweeps inland, and it splits off into this delta. At the end of which, oh my God, there's my alarm going off. Shut up, Fitbit. You don't want it.
Don't want it anymore. All right. Back to giant crocodiles.
Yeah. So we're the end of this delta, of which there's this massive pyramid. It's like really cementing the whole Egyptian aesthetic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've got these giant crocodiles. A Sarcosuchus is a giant prehistoric crocodile. I believe it's from the early Cretaceous period. These things got up to like 40 feet in length. They could weigh up to 8 tons. So it's the things like the size of a reasonably large truck. So when you're fighting those, the proportions between like them and us, they're actually pretty accurate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they were just wanting to throw some crocodiles in there that were really huge. It wasn't like there was some sort of special story behind it.
No. The point going on there is that there's like a lot of wildlife that's come to take over since those floods came up. They've started to receive. It's developed this kind of ecosystem, which is presumably quite different to what it was 1,500 years ago. So that's the Sarcosuchus.
The Sarcosuchus. Jesus, I can't believe I even got that close to right.
That was great.
All right. So let's hit this other one here. Euphayum Spider. I said that one wrong, didn't I? First daughter?
Euphayum Spider in the first daughter. Okay. Honestly, those will make more sense when we talk about Arachne Eve. But they're sort of her spawn that we're encountering there. So there's two, I mentioned before, there's two parties here, right? There's the people defending the city, and then there are the minions of Skathak that are trying to break in. And these seem to belong to the latter. Okay.
So should we go like monster boss, or should we just like...
You can do it however you like, dude.
Let's see. Well, let's go up. I guess it kind of relates. The ads before the boss always kind of relate to the boss. Is that right or no?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's go back to Sarcosuchus here. And talk about Arachne Eve? Arachne Eve? Arachne Eve.
Yeah, Arachne Eve is our first boss.
So who's this guy?
Well, this guy is some kind of horrible spider-human hybrid. And what did you presume it was when you fought this thing? Did you think it was a Voidscent? What did you think it was?
I thought it was some sort of weird Frankenstein concoction. I mean, I don't really know. It had to be created, right? This isn't something that just like made itself. But then again, you have all these other kind of half tree, half plant things too. You got all these like half human stuff. I mean, they do that in the game.
You're on the money. You were on the money, assuming that this was a Frankenstein kind of monster. Okay. This is, as far as we know, so. The first thing that some people noticed when they saw Arachne Eve was there's a crafting mat that we've had forever. Well, not forever, but for a long time, called Arachne Web. And we can, I feel like we have to assume that the two are connected, right? There's a pretty, obvious connection here. So we're told the crafting mat, I'll read you the description. It's used to craft Arachne Velveteen, which is used to make the I-110 Arachne sets. It's used to make the new replica Allergan, High Allergan, replica Dreadworm gear. Now, the description reads, the wire-like web of the Allergan chimerical miscreation Arachne. So here we are, even in the Mhaki city, it seems that there's an Allergan chimera, which is crazy, which is really weird. And we know that the Allergans, they made like synthetic Voidscent. We see like those funny like Areman things that we see in like the Therochemical Research Facility, the Shubties. There's a whole bunch of synthetic Voidscent that they've basically cloned from Voidscent bits and grown in vats. And it seems like she is one of them, which is really interesting. And it makes me think, well, how the hell did she end up here? And that's a big mystery for me. That might be the biggest mystery in this whole dungeon.
So let me get this straight. So this monster was conceived back in 2.0.
5,000 years ago.
Well, no, in like for developers right now.
Oh yeah. She was named back in 2.x. Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty much making this character already and making parts for this character. Where did you get do you know where the web came from? Like if you needed to gather the web, I can't.
You can buy it at the moment. You can buy it with Grand Company seals.
How the hell did those Grand Companies get a hold of that web?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
Are they secretly sending ships up there and farming this stuff and not telling us?
They couldn't. There's absolutely no way.
They got Zeppelins, man.
Yeah, they got Zeppelins now, but they didn't in 2.x.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know. Maybe.
Because when you're level 15, you fly around in those.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but those are... Those don't have the kind of capacity to travel, like the distances and the heights to which we can now travel. So I don't know, maybe it's possible that she's left web, around other places, in Mordona, in the West Shroud, I'm sure she's been alive for 5,000 years. She's probably a pretty busy spider. But the thing that I really love about this character is how closely based she seems to be on the historical reference, which is the Greek Arachne, which is this awesome kind of tale of hubris and challenging the gods and getting smited. She basically thought that she was a better weaver than Athena, who is the goddess of weaving. So Athena was like, bitch, what? And challenged her to a weaving contest. And they said, all right, we're both going to weave a tapestry. We're going to base it on, how fast we produce and how beautiful it is. So Athena made this scene of her standing above Athens, sort of battling against Poseidon, to defend Athens and all these amazing things that she'd done for the mortal people. Whereas Arachne drew a bunch of scenes of all the people that Zeus had raped. And Athena was totally disgusted. She was like, okay, that's not cool. But at the same time, she conceded that Arachne's work was better than hers. So we know, well, the story kind of branches off in a couple of different paths. We know either that she transformed Arachne into a spider, or that she berated and tortured Arachne so badly that she committed suicide, after which Athena felt guilty and brought her back as a spider so she could continue weaving. Either way, we have in both the Allergan tradition and the Greek tradition, we have a woman who has been transformed, who's undergone this kind of metamorphosis and has become something else, become this spider. Now, the Eve is a really interesting one as well, because we think of Eve as like, the mother of all, right? In the Christian tradition. So it might be the case here. You know how we've got Midgard's Ozma, who is essentially the father of all dragons in the Final Fantasy XIV universe. I think there might be something similar going on with Arachne here. I think Arachne Eve might actually be the mother of all the spiders and all the Vilekin. And that's when we go back to the Yefam spiders and the first daughters. I think the first daughter, the implication there is that they're like a first generation spawn of hers. But it seems like it might actually be the case that all or a lot of spiders in Eorzea and in Hydaelyn are the children of Arachne Eve, who has become this sort of honorary Voidscent in some way, because she's, made up of Voidscent bits, and Skuthak's like, yeah, you're enough like us. Come on, let's hang out.
It's pretty funny. All right, so, and in the end, we just crushed her with 24 people. I'd say crush her, totally, but she crushed multiple people, I'm sure, on many attempts so far. And that was a pretty cool, that fight reminds me a little bit of other fights I've played in games where you kind of go up to multiple different levels and then you go back down.
I love to see that. I love fights like that. And it gives me hope that we might end up seeing an anima fight at some point, anima from Final Fantasy X. I wanted to see for the longest time this like party in our world, party in the void anima fight. Oh man, it's so good. So
every time they make a new fight, I'm like, they're going to run out of creative ways to make these fights.
They never do. I was so impressed by all these fights in here. Were amazing.
Gosh, I can't wait to meet these guys. Like I'm gonna try to get like interview with every single one of them somehow.
We've got press passes, don't we?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know about all that stuff. We'll see.
Just wave your.
Hey, I'm MogTalk.
Do you know who the fuck I am?
Do you know who I am? I got like 5 followers, 5 people. Oh God, no, it's
so you make it.
God, I can't wait for that though. That is like the one thing that really connects all of us together. Like we can go to TwitchCon, we can go to Comic-Con, we can go to all these places, but here, this is our place. This is our home, convention. Exactly. This is okay. Enough thinking about that. So we go into this
nostalgia.
Yeah. FanFest last time I went was awesome. This time it's going to be 10 times more awesome. Because I've dove so much deeper into the community now. So I wasn't even streaming or doing anything the last FanFest. So Forgal.
It's an Irish name.
Irish. Okay.
It's an Irish name. Now so Skuthak. Mm-hmm. So there's a really cool thing going on here. A bunch of names of Voidscent within this sort of faction of Voidscents. They all come from the same Irish story. We've got Skuthak, who is basically like the real world Xena, warrior princess kind of deal, Scottish warrior princess. We've got Cuchulainn is from the same story, Ferdiad and Forgal. They all fit together. And this is a story that I love telling about Cuchulainn. Now, you remember Cuchulainn from the Void Ark. He's the big, gross, tentacle one, right?
Yeah. So he's the third guy.
He's the second from last.
Yeah.
Now, there's this old Irish story of this young warrior Cuchulainn who was so sexy. He was so beautiful, and all the young ladies were in love with him. One of which was Forgal's daughter, that all the local lords conspired with each other to be rid of him because they were like, no, he's going to take all our women. So they said to him, all right, what you need to do is you need to go to Scotland and you need to find this woman, Skuthak, who's going to train you to be, the mightiest warrior of all time. And they're all like laughing behind his back because they know that Skuthak is going to kill him, because Skuthak kills everyone because she's a mutant. She's crazy. So Forgal is the one that sort of convinces him to go. And Cuchulainn's like, all right, sweet, fine, I'll go. And he goes, he trains alongside Ferdiad, which is another name we see. He was in Amdapor Keep Hard mode, and he showed up in the cutscenes at the end there of Weeping City. So they train together. He ends up becoming, the most powerful warrior that has ever lived. He acquires the Gay Bolg, which is this spear that can pierce anything. And I'm sure you guys all know the Gay Bolg. Ooh, hi, it's all coming together. And goes back and storms Forgirl's castle, and Forgirl sort of falls off the battlements, and he takes Forgirl's daughter, and Forgirl's daughter's like, "Oh no," by which she means totally yes.
Okay. We'll go with that.
Yeah, so all the Voidscent are connected by this story in Irish mythology. So I'm always really excited, and always it gives us like these ideas of new directions they be coming in, new names that could be showing up. So I was really excited to see Forgal in there. That was a really cool sort of bit of homage.
Okay, hold on. Remind me real quick. This guy, I'm trying to remember exactly.
Second boss.
He's
like sitting on like a weird orb thing. I don't know what the thing he's sitting on.
That's right, because I was trying
weird. Some gross, goopy egg thing. I don't know.
Hold on. So Forgal, because I remember Forgal, what's it called? The Weeping City. Oh, what's it called? The Weeping City. What's my stream called? What's all this stuff called? All right. Oh, there's a thing called. All right, this guy's doing it blind. All right. So that means that this is footage of it actually happening. Yeah, and so this is the weird kind of fight. He doesn't have any good pictures here. There's some demons that show up here. He summons demons. All right, I remember this now. No, this is a bad video. I should have got some good pictures or something here, man.
So you've done this once. Did you clear it?
I've done this once. I've cleared it. Yes, I've cleared it.
Really?
I tried to go back. Yeah, we cleared it with only a couple wipes. Only a couple of wipes on the first fight, and that's because
that's amazing for the first week.
Let me tell you the experience we had for the first week. It was, I think, Saturday or Sunday. We went in, and when we went into the dungeon, immediately someone's like, I don't want to teach 3 new DPS how to do this fight. Like, sorry, leave if you want to, man. And then we go on for 5 minutes, then they leave right before the first boss. And then we go in there, That's
a weird point to leave.
Yeah, it's a really weird point because you don't even get to see if things will work out, right?
Yeah.
And here I am doing in-game content, but apparently I can't do a 24-man or figure it out, all right? So anyways, we have half the team goes in, half the team stays out, and we wipe on the first boss. That's how we wipe with Arachne Eve. And then after that, everyone goes in, we clear it, and we clear every single other boss without any wipes.
Jeez.
It's like, what?
You see, my first run, we spent like an hour wiping on Arachne Eve because people just couldn't work it out. It's the really frustrating thing for me. When I'm going into a duty blind and I feel like I've worked out a fight, normally what you would do is you'd shout out in the lines chat and you say, hey, do this, do that.
Yeah.
But of course...
You need 1 out of 24 people to do that.
Yeah, but the other 23 people in there speak le Nippon, and I don't speak the Japanese, so there's nothing I can do.
The Japanese.
I don't speak the Asian, so I just have to.
There's the Australian coming out.
So I just have to put up with us wiping over and over and over and over for an hour. So it's like, and that normally doesn't happen on Tonberry. The Japanese data centers normally pick up things like way faster than the Americans do.
You'd have to think people who play on Tonberry are open and they want to play with people who don't speak Japanese. Like, they're fine with that because Tonberry is mostly like Australians and
Tonberry is more than half, but again, because you're in that Japanese data center, when you're queuing for stuff, it is very, very uncommon to be finding many English speakers.
Oh, that makes
because
sense.
we're all on Tonberry, and there's not a whole bunch of us. There's maybe I don't know, it's like 3 Australians that play Final Fantasy 14.
So you have you have half a raid group almost.
Yeah,
okay.
That's good. Yeah.
All right. So let's go past this guy, and this is what we're running into right afterwards. We're going Black Mage corpses, Ghost, and
That's
Boots.
Before.
This is before Ozma.
That's all right. That's fine. Yeah. So the Black Mage.
Okay.
Corpses. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about when we're going through like the Shotto Memorial and all that. So a boot is basically a ghost. A boot is like the Indian term for a ghost. The thing that's really interesting with the Black Mage corpses, however, this frustrates the hell out of me. Now, as far as we know, Mhaki was mostly or exclusively Lalafels. And we know that for a few reasons. Firstly, because the only like confirmed name of a Mhaki citizen we have is Shotto, which is so clearly a Lalafell name.
Yeah.
And so clearly based on you know who.
Yeah.
The second is that Belladaya, who were exclusively Lalafells, and we know that because they actually repelled the first Hyur settlers into Eorzea at the time. They tried to come in, and these Lalafells were like, no, fuck no, and went to war against them. They claim to be the descendants of Mark, and the Uldan potatoes claim to be the descendants of Belladaya. So we have this trace of the Uldar Lalafells through to the Mark. However, every time we see undead in the Void Ark or here or even, in Amdapor, anyway, they're always Hyur models. And this always frustrates me because I don't know whether it's an oversight. I can only assume that it's an oversight. I can only consider that it's like not relevant, but it really, really frustrates me when we know that a civilization is made up of Lalafells, and yet when we see they're undead, they're not Lalafell size.
Write this down. Write this down. I want you to compile a list of things that bug you with the lore, things that just like stand out. And then,
honestly, this is like easily one of the biggest things. These inconsistencies, because you go to Amdapor. Or Gelmora, which we know were Elazin, and again, their zombies are all Hyurs. Their skeletons are all Hyur-shaped. You see the same thing in the Sunken Temple of Khan. All the zombies, all the skeletons are Hyur, and it's just this really weird inconsistency that I can't get my head around.
Okay, write this down. We're gonna get this list together, and then we're gonna go to Koji, okay? And we're gonna say, hey man.
It's definitely one of the things I'm going to be nagging him about. I've got a list of questions for Koji, and I'm gonna blast him.
Just like say, this doesn't make sense, and he's like, he'll have a reason.
And he's going to be like, dude, just read the lore book. We're releasing this lore book, which is making you redundant now.
You're completely redundant. What's the point? I just wrote a book about everything that you'll ever talk about.
No, it'd be good because like my future career is just going to be like live reading. Be sweet. Be awesome.
It's story time. Let's go to page 55, and I'll read this out loud to you.
Everyone turn to page 55 in your textbooks.
Oh, God. Okay. So let's take a second here and answer a couple of these viewer questions here. Let's take a little break from all that.
All right.
Jim Link, on a theoretical standpoint, what would happen if we were to use the Nullstone and the Dragon Eye at the same time? Could we do that?
Well, I don't see why not. So these are two both massive sources of ether. The thing about Dragon Eyes is that it seems we can use them in a variety of different ways. They're very flexible. They're very versatile. We've seen we've absorbed them into ourselves. We've used them as a kind of blade of light to destroy Ascians. There's a bunch of different things we can do with it. The Nullstone, as far as we know, it was intended to be used to destroy Voidscent. It was intended as like a failsafe. So the Mhaki were bringing in like increasingly more powerful Voidscent to do their bidding, to power their machines, to power the Void Ark. And they needed to have a failsafe. They needed to have a way to sort of ensure that these Voidscent weren't going to go AWOL. And the way they did that was with the Nullstone, was this weapon that could basically instantly destroy a Voidscent, just completely shatter it into a billion pieces. So what it is, it's kind of like, it's the equivalent of a Dragon Eye, but rather than using ether from Hydaelyn, it seems to be using ether from the Void. And that might put some limits on the way that we can use it. But it seems to me that if you're holding the Dragon Eye, if you're holding the Eye of Nidhogg in one hand, you're holding the Nullstone in the other, you've basically got a massive wellspring of ether from Hydaelyn, you've got a massive wellspring of ether from the Void. If you're creative enough and clever enough, you could probably ruin everything. Just everything.
Just like make a new error. Time for a new one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Miyuni wants to know how you know all this stuff.
How do I know all this? Because I read dialogue and watch cutscenes.
Okay.
Like multiple times. I didn't even play 1.0, and I've read like pretty much every line of dialogue from 1.0.
And you've told me before you have files on your computer of just stuff and information that you've collected, right?
Yeah. I've got massive databases that would make sense to probably no one except for me. But
Would you
I've
ever
got,
like one day just say, "All right, I'm going to release this, and you guys can go through
I
my
would.
library, the library of Ethys"?
Yeah, I would love to, but it's in such a weird sort of form that I really don't think it would make much sense to anyone. It's definitely it's a project that I want to do. I want to like sort of arrange it in a way that's like accessible to people and release it. Maybe on like I don't know, maybe on Blogspot or something like that as like
Just
some
release
some
it
kind
into
of
like a
archive.
VR atmosphere, man, and make it like a tower. You have a tower library
Just
or
make people
something.
walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do like the Great Google Library and just like,
Yeah.
people like buy books and yeah, that'd be amazing. But yeah, that's definitely something that, when I've got the time, I'd love to sit down and do.
I gotcha. All right. Anarchan, is Tiamat going to be just as angry if or when it's released as
Can you say
Bahamut?
that again?
Tiamat?
Tiamat.
Tiamat. Why do I always think Tiamat? Is that like, am I thinking of something
Maybe
else?
maybe you're thinking Trimet because Tiamat normally has three heads. That might
Maybe.
be it. Yeah, I'm
Maybe.
giving you an
From
out
other
there.
Final
You wanna,
Fantasy.
you want to take that?
No, I'm not going to take it, man, because I
You want to
remember
take
it
that so
being
you
a
don't feel
try.
stupid? I'm giving you an out.
All right. Tiamat.
Tiamat, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So is he going to be just as angry as Bahamut, or is he going to?
Is Tiamat going to be just as angry as Bahamut?
Yeah.
No, Tiamat could have broken out any time by now.
This is
Tiamat,
he's doing it for his punishment, or is it he or she? Sorry,
it's a she.
She's
So
doing it.
Tiamat was Bahamut's mate, and she was tricked into summoning Bahamut as a primal by the Ascians, and is so ashamed of herself and so consumed with grief at what happened to her children, the dragons of Mericidia, and what ultimately happened to Bahamut, that she doesn't want to get out. Her imprisonment is entirely self-perpetuated, and I've thought about things that could have motivated her. I thought that maybe the idea of Nidhogg doing something similar, or the thought of the Garlands in particular, the Garlands exploring Azazlar and coming across the old Allagan neurolinking technology and enslaving the Dravanians in the same way that they enslaved the Mericidians, could be something to motivate her to free herself. But it doesn't seem like they're taking that direction at the moment. It would be a compelling direction to take, but no, I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon.
I would think that she would eventually come with all this. God, why can't I ever think of anything today? It's the three guys in Azala.
You think of the Warring Triad?
The Warring Triad, yes. Why?
Yeah, she doesn't want to have anything.
She's not
to
going to do anything with that.
No, she doesn't care about that.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna just say she's gonna stay there imprisoned, and I'm never even gonna think she's gonna be part of the story. And when she comes in the story, I'm gonna just send you a message. I'm gonna be like, "Are you stupid? How do you not know this stuff, man? Why do I have you on?"
I think it's like a thread that they've set up that they can bring up later anytime. But I'm not expecting that they've already planned something for it. They're just like, they leave like a lot of fail safes for themselves. They're like, all right, now here's something that we can pick up later if we want to, and it means that we've already set it up, and people will be really hyped because they'll be like, oh my god, they were thinking that all along when they may or may not have been. It's just I don't know. It's a good way to do storytelling in MMOs, I find.
Yeah. All right. One more here. Boss Light Gavin, when do you think we will see more Nero?
When do I think we will see more of Nero? Well, we've been told that we're going to see more of him, definitely. I think that we're going to see a lot more of the Garlands. We're going to see a lot more of Nero, and I hope to God we're going to see more of Gaius when we go to take back Alamigo, which is, I'm 90% sure is going to be the story of 4.0.
Yeah.
So I would say we're going to be seeing Nero between now and 4.0, so in the next 12 months.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I would say 12 months would be when the next expansion is coming out, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'd say 12 months, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, we'll see how that all works out. All right,
Yeah.
Let's jump back into our questions here with the show. Going on to Ozma.
Okay.
This is the boss, right? I mean, this boss defines Weeping City almost.
This is the boss.
You know, it's kind of funny when you think about it. The third boss in Void Ark was pretty much what stood out the most too. I think he stands out really the most. And so when you go back to the third boss in Weeping City,
I didn't think any of the bosses in the Void Ark
you
stood
didn't think
out.
that guy stood out?
I mean, Yoshida said the other day, he said explicitly, like, because a couple of people have been saying, oh my god, Weeping City's so hard. Yoshida's like, nah, dude, Weeping City wasn't hard. Void Ark was just too fucking easy.
Right. I mean, and that's truth. And that's when a lot of stuff is actually going on. There's only a couple of things that was really too difficult in the game. For example, A6 was set up a little bit more difficult than it should have been.
Arguably. Arguably. Yeah, A6 and A3 are the only things that I reckon, arguably. But they're not supposed to be like super accessible content like this is anyway. I was honestly expecting them to nerf Ozma after week 1, just from the amount of people that were going to be bitching and moaning about it. No, there is no reason to, and I'm really glad that they didn't. And I'm glad that the feedback, it seems, has been a lot more positive than I was expecting, because I was expecting people to be demanding a nerf to Ozma, and they haven't done it. So Ozma's here to stay. I'm happy about it.
From my understanding, most of the community right now constantly believes, hey, there's too much in this game that is too easy, and too little that's actually challenging and hard.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Most people, anytime there's something like remotely difficult and people have trouble doing, they love it. They jump into it and they eat it up. But
you see, that's the voice that we hear from the Twitch community, because the people that are watching you and are watching me, I mean, it's fairly safe to assume that they're quite invested in the game, probably more so than the average player.
Right.
You don't really see that reflected in places like the subreddit and the official forums. They tend to be places that people that are complaining about the difficulty of content tend to do so very loudly and tend to get listened to a lot of the time, unfortunately.
I don't. Maybe I need to go to the official forums more often or something, because I don't see it anywhere else.
I don't know if you need to go to the official forums that often.
I mean, it can't be that bad.
The official forums is really good for lore and the lore discussions that go on there. But the rest of it is, I don't know. It's kind of what you expect to see of official forums of any game. Again, aside from the lore section, I think is awesome.
Okay.
But I mean, that's just my opinion. So don't hate me for that.
Okay. Ozma. Why is Ozma there? What's Ozma doing?
Now, Ozma was another super weapon.
Okay.
Now, what does the Nimians mean to you? Nim.
It meant something to me at some point, but it didn't stick with me to something I needed to keep remembering.
All right. Well, what about the Wanderer's Palace? What do we know about the Wanderer's Palace?
Wanderer's Palace. It's a place where there's. God, just going back to 2.x dungeons, man. That's the one where you have the big metal armor guys walking around. You got
Tomberries.
No, the Tombarians. Okay, yeah. See, I'm mixing it up. I mixed it up with Ampedor Keep, I think. All right, so I'm going to do that a whole bunch of times.
That's all right.
I'm the perspective of the ignorant lore guy here, so that's what.
No, that's great. That's it's a good place to have a conversation.
All right, so that's with all the scholar quest and everything else.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So Nim, Amdapor, and Mhak. These were the 3 city-states that were involved in the War of the Magi. Now, what the Mhak did to Nim that we've known about so far is they released this kind of weird plague thing, which turned a whole bunch of them into Tomberries. And we just assumed that was like how they destroyed Nim. And then we heard this story later on from the sightseeing log, the floating city of Nim. They had sort of this floating city. They had like these little islands that were kind of hovering fairly close off the ground with wind crystals. So we found out these wind crystals become over-aspected and presumably taken off into the sky. And we thought, that's that, basically. What we've discovered with Ozma is that Ozma is actually a super weapon that was designed and created to consume cities, just eat cities whole.
Huh. So just a big black hole kind of device?
Yeah. Well, yeah, literally, it casts a black hole. And it contains within us this little, alternate dimension, basically, of which it sucks in things, and that's how it consumes them and destroys them. So they release this thing on Nim. When we go into the black hole and we go into this place called the 12-fold, that's where we're fighting the Atomos, and we're fighting the Ozma Shade. Where we are there, we're in what is left of Nim. We're in the same city of which the Wanderer's Palace belongs to. And what we're seeing there is like the little, the Ozma bite-sized chunk of central Nim, which he's consumed while the rest of it has been obliterated.
When he sucks us in.
Really, yeah. And that was really awesome to see. I was really, really hyped to see that little throwback there.
I didn't know that. And so basically, this was a doomsday device that was used on their city, sort of. And it sucked in their city, and then it just went off to Mhaki, right?
Yeah.
And then when you go in there, you're pretty much just you're going onto the remaining bits of what was sucked up for that city. And it was a floating city, so that's why it's kind of standing up in the air, right?
Well, I don't think that's why. I think it would be anyway, because we're just in this weird, this weird alternate dimension sort of thing. It's a mess in there. It's a complete mess. Laws of physics don't apply, all that kind of crap. But yeah, basically. And if you need confirmation for that, when you kill the Atomos, you'll see below the Atomos is a great big symbol of Ocean, who is the patron deity of Nim. It's a symbol that you'll see outside the Wanderer's Palace. It's like a big glowing symbol of it. So between that and the architecture, it is like, I'm 100% certain that is Nim. That is exactly what's going on there.
Man, I gotta say, none of this stuff is even remotely appreciated by anyone going through and doing this content. Like, you're telling me all this stuff, and this is all new to me.
There's so much thought that's gone into it. You're just like, oh, they've designed like this cool thing and whatever.
Cool,
but no, there's so much to it.
And so that's, I think, one of the biggest difference between this game and a lot of other MMOs is other people are kind of invested in the story. Like if you play Star Wars, you're kind of you can relate to all those symbols and things. Warcraft, you can kind of relate to all that stuff. I mean, there's some things in there you might not quite grab, but a lot of that stuff, people who play it kind of understand all these different little parts.
So you think it's like a lot more obvious, a lot more transparent.
Yeah, and then when you come into Final Fantasy, none of that stuff's obvious. But if it was more obvious, then people would appreciate it more, and they would be more invested into it.
I mean, I agree with that on one hand that people might be more invested into it. But on the other hand, the fact that it's not immediately obvious, a lot of this stuff, means that there's room to go digging. And it means that people are into lore. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to discuss. There's so many sort of theories to craft and stuff like that. It's why I'm so appreciative of the lore of Final Fantasy XIV compared to, things like World of Warcraft. But, I love my Star Wars lore. Yeah. I absolutely love my Star Wars lore, but like you say, everything in the Old Republic, for instance, is quite, it's very approachable. I think they
need to have both. Just have one where it's like you can dive deep. Yeah. There's big backstory that it's just not out there. Obviously, you would have to read it and stuff, but have stuff that, like, with the story is simple, you could just understand and be like, yeah, I kind of know what's going on. This makes sense to me.
I feel like they need to do more things. So the way they tell us a lot of lore from these dungeons and stuff like that is through things like triple triad cards and minions and stuff like that. And they leave the rest of it for us to speculate, or they'll like tell us something about, the final boss. And we'll be like, oh, there's an explicit thing about the final boss, something that you could have worked out if you were paying attention to the final boss. So what they need to do is give more avenues for like an explicit lore explanation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because right now I'm going into it, I'm like, pirates.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm really thinking about. Pirates, and there's demon stuff, and then I'm going for some artifact or something. I'm not thinking, there's all this really crazy stuff that's really going on at the same time. Yeah. I feel like they could really explain this stuff or make it to a point to where I can appreciate all the work that Koji and everyone else is doing right now. And I feel like listening to you talk about it makes me feel like I definitely don't appreciate all the different things that he does.
Yeah, I know.
I feel really bad about that. But okay, so it's a big doomsday device. It turns in...
Yeah.
Well, is there a reason for why it changes shapes? Is it just part of it? Is what it is?
I don't know. Well, the reason... I don't know. I like to explain it. So Ozma is the name of a princess from Oz, from the Wizard of Oz. There's a whole series of books. in subsequent books, she was, the princess that ruled the kingdom, and she was always like kind of changing shape and oscillating. Like she was sometimes a fairy, she was sometimes a human, she was sometimes like a 14-year-old girl, she was sometimes like this centuries old, unending thing. So I feel like maybe that's a reference to her. It might also be a reference to Project Ozma, which was the first sort of search for extraterrestrial life using radio waves in the early 1960s, which is why you have this really kind of eerie, I guess, sort of, alternate dimension kind of feel to it. Yeah, so I think there's a few things there. The other really cool thing with Ozma, I find, so we're fighting him on the Glory Hole, which does anyone get up there and not like instantly think of a Glory Hole?
I know. I don't think of that. You know what I think of?
You didn't think of that. You saw the Glory Hole and
you
didn't
ever played Phantasy Star Online?
Yeah.
You know the last boss where you're kind of running around on that platform?
Yeah.
That's what I think about.
But it's called the Glory Hole.
It's called, all right, why do you, because are we talking about butts, right? That's what we're talking about? Or what are we
a Glory Hole is a halo. It's sort of an old term for a halo.
Okay.
It's also French for vanity or vain glory. But it says Glory Hole. I'm getting up there, I'm thinking, hey, if I put my dong in Ozma, it could shop anywhere. This is amazing.
It could go anywhere. It could be in anything.
Anywhere. Like doesn't that titillate anyone? Doesn't it appeal to anyone? I feel like we should patent this. I'd like
to see where it's going, I guess.
Yeah. No, you don't want to see where it's going. That defeats the purpose of a glory hole. I feel like you and I could patent interdimensional glory holes.
I think you could. And I could say, I support what you do.
You don't want in on the action? You don't want in on the action? There's a lot of money to be made here.
All right. What?
There's
what?
Say money?
Money? No, I don't think I don't know. I didn't take it that direction, but now I will. Every time I go up there, I'm like, all right, I'm standing right here. Here's the glory hole, guys. Yeah, let's go.
It's gonna happen. Yeah, let's do it.
Are you the guy that runs around like when Shiva Extreme came out? You're like, hey guys, you guys want to go do sex real quick? Did you do that? No. Okay.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't part of that crowd.
Yeah, but the other amazing thing about Ozma, interesting thing, is that we've got the glory hole, it means vanity. We've got the gallery beneath it. People are like, why is Ozma here? Why are they keeping him here in this pyramid? Is this like somewhere that he recharges? Is it like to contain him? No, it's literally the arrogance and the vanity of the Mhaki wanting to have this place that they can come to and they can see this city that they've consumed and be like, yeah, we did that. Yeah, fuck those guys. I mean, it's literally, it's like taking a film of, Nagasaki and showing it in a public square in the middle of your capital city. It is that fucked up. And it really cements this idea, firstly, of the fact that Lavafells are scumbags and always have been and always will be.
Right. Yeah.
And secondly, is this sort of global theme of all Final Fantasy games. There's precisely, vanity and pride and arrogance, hubris, essentially, which comes to undermine and destroy everyone and everything over and over and over.
Yeah, that's that makes perfect sense to me right now. With all the other conversations I had with you about, why these errors happen and everything else. So okay, I gotcha. So we're done with this boss, right? We have this boss. Yep. We got all these cool things happening. And then we're going on to the next set of ads, which is the headstone, or is that before? That was before.
The headstone was immediately before.
Okay, tell me about this headstone.
There's not much about the headstone, to be honest. I found, okay, so we've got this whole image of, the Mhaki. They're using, things associated with death. They're using coffins. They're using Voidscent. The headstone's like another one of those. But the headstone, it's like an animated statue. It's kind of more of like an Andapori thing as far as I'm concerned. Now, the thing that really interests me about the headstone, it's got these weird inscriptions on it. I don't know what they are, and they look vaguely like ancient Aramaic, But this is going to be like another question of mine for Koji is like, hey, this script, we've seen this alphabet in a few places. What is this? Please give us some kind of codex for it, because I'd love to know what it says on the headstone. The other, and this is another sort of indication of the Mhaki vainglory, is it's got this little symbol of like a seed with like, it's like sprouting, you know, growing from it. You've got that on a fucking gravestone. How weird is that? They're celebrating this idea that from corpses, from death, they're, you know, planting the seeds for their growth, for their empire. So it's another really morbid and telling symbol of this city that we're in.
I mean, it doesn't always, it could mean that, but like, you could say like, hey, people go out and they fight wars, right? And so they go out and they die, and when they die and we grow from that. So that's not a kind of a bad thing, but, you know, at the same time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, they're literally taking corpses and summoning Voidscent into them to use as batteries.
Yeah, so that makes sense too. Yeah. Did you hear that if you want to, you can like get your body like into some sort of I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I've got one.
You got one?
I got one of those coffins. Yeah, you can sleep in it. It's awesome.
No, not a coffin. Jesus Christ, Ethys. I'm talking about you could put your ashes into like a plant or something. And
oh
it can grow
yeah. There's something really appealing about that.
Until someone comes and pees on it and cuts it down and stuff like that, and the dogs pee on it and stuff. But
well, I want to get like political or anything, but the idea of like having a coffin that's like sealed with like plastics and stuff like that, and having your body will like decompose within that, but it'll never do anything productive. You know, it's just like taking up land. Nothing's going to grow from it because it's sealed up. I feel like that's wasteful. I like the idea of the body decomposing and kind of something growing from it.
Yeah, because then you can start thinking that you're going back to the earth, and then you're growing, and your energy is going back in its own way. And so it kind of goes back to how Final Fantasy does all of its storyline, where Mother Earth is like this energy, and you go into the and things like that.
It's sort of this weird kind of concept of reincarnation, right? That you end up becoming a tree.
Yeah, sort of. All right. We're talking about death, by the way, if you guys are wondering, because this entire thing, talking about headstones, talks about death and demons and coffins and everything. So it has a lot to do with Weeping City.
It's all wrapped up. Yeah.
All right, so going to this last boss here.
Mm-hmm. You can do it.
Calofisteri.
Calofisteri? Calofisteri? Really?
Yeah.
You want to try that again?
Calofisteri? I don't know. I see Calofisteri. Yeah, Teri.
Calofisteri.
Calofisteri. Calofisteri.
Calofisteri. That's right.
Calofisteri.
That was adorable.
Shut. I can't pronounce these things, man. It makes no sense to me. It's like a block, man. I don't know.
Well, this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is a nonsense name anyway.
It looks like a nonsense name to me. All right, go.
Well, what did you think finding her? What do you think she is?
Just absolutely ridiculous. I go back to Void Ark, and I remember the last boss, right? It's just this crazy leg thing where her head's down and her butt's up and everything, and like I couldn't make sense.
Talking about echidna.
Yeah, it just looks like a crazy monster, and that's all I could think about. And so kind of the same thing I think went here. It's just kind of seems like a crazy monster. But go ahead.
The difference between her and Echidna is that Echidna was a Voidscent, whereas Calofisteri was at some point a Mhaki mage. And now we've seen, you know how the heretics throughout Heaven's Ward, right? They drink dragon's blood and they're like transforming into a
right. Yeah. That's in the main story. I followed that.
Yeah.
Well. Okay.
And you follow the idea that Iceheart, by using crystals, can transform herself into Shiva through, the prayer and the belief of the heretics, right?
Right.
Now, what Calofisteri has done is kind of both of those things in a weird way. She's been drinking this Voidscent blood, which is going to transform her into some kind of weird human Voidscent hybrid. But what she's also been doing is she's been using ether-rich crystals while she's been doing it So she's kind of transformed herself in such a way that she's absorbed all of this amazing power. And the green thing that's in her crown, that is the Null Stone. Okay. And that is constantly producing ether out of nothing. It's just absorbing ether from the void, which she can use, pretty much on a whim. So she's crazy. But anyone who's looking at her thinking she's a Voidscent, have a look at the minion for her. Have a look at the triple triad card. She may be the last surviving Mhaki.
Was.
Yeah, it was until we.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. We're going out here and killing all these super crazy things.
Technically genocide, what we just did. Yeah. So there's that.
That's kind of interesting. So she's a remnant of this civilization that was there.
Yes.
At least that's what we're assuming. Now, technically, she could also blow up all the Voidscent because she had the thing on her head, right? Or no?
That's the idea. Yeah. That's what she's there for. She's there to protect it. And she's there if any Voidscent come to
So
take
if Diablos came and tried to take it, she would just look at him and kill him.
Well, yeah, I mean, potentially. You've got to assume that Diablos thought of that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Maybe that's why we were let to take it, because we could take it.
That's what I'm suspecting.
Okay.
I am suspecting at the moment that it's quite possible that we were led there, and we were an instrument for the taking of the Null Stone.
Okay, that would make sense to me. And then Cait Sith is evil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's something going on with him. He's pretty dodgy, because he only remembered that this Null Stone thing existed when he realized that Scarthuk was going after the Weeping City, and that seems awfully convenient to me. He's like, oh yeah, that's right. There's this super weapon down there with remembering what now. That's my one. So there's that, and there's the fact that, and this might seem like such a minor thing, but in the cutscenes before we go in there, when we're talking to him, his hitbox is fucking huge. He's got like a large mob-sized hitbox. You're expecting like a little, maybe like a person-sized hitbox, But he's got this.
I didn't even notice that.
He's got this massive hitbox, and I'm like, we're going to be fighting this cat. I don't know. I would not be.
Is he going to summon like a big robot Moogle thing? The sit on. What was that in like Final Fantasy VII, right?
Final Fantasy VII is riding around on it. Yeah.
And you don't even think of the cat really. You think of like the big stuffed animal thing, right?
Yeah. That's true. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know what if Koshi is behind it. I think what he's probably doing is, he's like this little Voidscent. We're not even sure that he is a Voidscent, but I'm presuming he's like this little Voidscent. He was a familiar of a Mhaki mage. Mm-hmm. And, he's like the littlest Voidscent, and, he's got little man syndrome, and he's like, I'm going to get the Null Stone, I'm going to make myself king of the Voidscent, because if any of them come near me, I'm going to fuck their shit up. Right. So I think he might be trying to do something like that. The alternative is that he is working for Scarthuk, and he's, an insider, and like you say, he's making sure that we can secure the Null Stone, because the Null Stone can't be used to destroy us in an instant in the way that it would any Voidscent that tried to take us. So we take it, he gets it, he gives it to Scarthuk. I think that's quite likely the way this turns out.
Okay. We have a quick question I just saw pop up here from Posh Panda. Wanted to know who is Cait Sith, and where did Cait Sith come from?
All right.
So
now I have no problems with people calling it Cait Sith, because that's like...
Yeah. Okay.
It's Irish. It's Koshi technically.
Is it Koshi?
Koshi, yeah. I've never heard anyone having any problems with people calling it Cait Sith or Cait
correct
Sith.
me, man. That's what I'm here for. I'm gonna keep calling Calofisteri all the time, unless if come on.
No, it's fine. Her origins, right, is that he or she? Do you think it's a she?
The eyelashes kind of like make it, but I have huge eyelashes too, so I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't tell someone's gender by their eyelashes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been assuming that it's a dude. Anyway, it's a familiar. So this idea that like witches and mages and stuff will often have like a little animal familiar.
Right.
So one of the one of the mages on the Void Ark. The Void Ark was, left to these mages use it to escape, and then they realize, oh hey, this is not looking good. The Voidscent are going to get out, and they had to basically sacrifice themselves in order to keep the thing running. And the last mage said to his familiar Corshi, "Hey dude, you've got to take care of the Void Ark. You've got to make sure that it keeps running." So that's his deal. Whether or not he is himself a Voidscent, I suspect that he probably is. But yeah,
okay.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
He wears a crown, right?
Yeah,
So,
he's got a cute crown.
What's that for? What is he proclaiming? He's a king of something, or?
Well, he's the king of the Void Ark. Or, he's the king of an empty boat.
I guess so.
But it is sort of an indicator that there's like a little bit of an ego there, maybe, and then maybe he's like expecting the crown to mean something.
I mean, he doesn't refer to it that much, does he? He doesn't.
No,
he is very sassy.
Yeah.
Extremely sassy. Kind of catty.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Okay.
All right. We're good. So you have a couple of places of importance that you think that definitely stand out here. So the White Maiden, I'm going to be honest, when we're going through these things, I'm going to be... we already talked about the Gloria hole at the very end of it, but we didn't talk about the White Maiden too much here.
Okay.
What's the White Maiden?
The White Maiden is basically one of the major arterial rivers moving through Eorzea. We see we see part of it like separates the Coerthas from the North Shrouds. So it sort of winds down to the southwest. And like I was saying before, it's like just before it reaches the sea, the Strait of Malfor, it sort of turns into this delta, very much like the Nile Delta. And very much like the Nile Delta, there's this great big pyramid there. So the thing about the White Maiden is we've got these, I guess these allusions to the Nile in a lot of ways for it. And the way that it seems to, at least in those ancient times, for the Amdapori and for the Mhaki in particular, it seems that it probably played a very similar role in their lifestyle and their agriculture and their commerce to what the Nile did for the ancient Egyptians and Numidians.
Which is the reason why the Egyptians kind of disappeared, right? Because the Nile dried up or something, or that's like a suspicion.
Yeah, it was whenever they went through, some massive unprecedented drought, I should say, the whole fucking civilization would collapse.
Right. So I guess that kind of throws that all together. All right. Shotto. Okay, Shotto. Yep. You already said it once. Shotto. Okay. Memorial.
Okay, now this is a name that we've had since before 2.0. Actually, we've only found out recently that it isn't explicitly Mhaki name. So Shotto is the mother of black magic. She designed black magic, which is a big deal. Okay. The soul gem for the black mage is called the Gem of Shotto, and what it basically allows us to do, it's like this ethereal filter. You'll find in the post 50 black mage quests that you have problems with people that are trying to use black magic without using this soul stone. They literally set themselves on fire. They just completely destroy their own body because there's too much ether coming in to their body, and it's just like it's killing them. So the Gem of Shotto was designed by Shotto. It's basically what allowed the Mhaki and what allows the black mages today to do these big burst numbers without killing themselves, which is pretty tight. She also created the Stardust Rods. She cast Meteor and pulled a star out of the sky, chopped that star up into little bits, and crafted the Stardust Rods out of it. So she's one of the biggest sort of founding mothers. I was about to say founding fathers. I'm like, that's not right. Founding mothers of Mhaki. She's a big deal. And it was really cool that we got like a little shout out, a little homage to her in the form of the Shotto Memorial as we were moving through.
Where's that? Where it's like
it's before Forgal. It's where we fight the boots and the Mhaki ghosts.
When you said boots, I totally thought Dora the Explorer and like that's okay. Yeah, the ghosts and everything.
Yeah, it's where we fight the ghosts.
So I'm going to be doing this today or tomorrow, and I'm going to be looking out for all these things when I'm doing it, by the way, because this is absolutely fantastic. It means so much more to me right now than it did before. All right, so Shrine of Gotik.
Now, the Shrine of the Gotik, now we have to look at the reference for this. The Ars Goetia is the first book in the Lesser Key of Solomon. It's this old, you know the sort of classical idea of, it's from Lovecraft, I think, of the Necronomicon, this sort of book of demon ritual summoning and stuff like that.
I think Army of the Dead.
Yeah. So the Ars Goetia is the real life one of those from the 17th century. And it's got this list of these 72 demon lords of hell and how to summon them and how to appease them and the kind of shit that you can like coerce them to do. But this list of demons is constantly used by Final Fantasy and other fantasy literature to name demons. Like a lot of the demons that we see, like, you know, Belias, Belial, Baal. Who else have we got from Final Fantasy? We've got Fornius. We've got, but like a lot of the demons that we see in Final Fantasy 14.
Okay.
So this Shrine of the Gotik, it implies to me that this is basically a ritual summoning space where you would summon these greater Gotik demons. And we can think of in ancient Mhaki times, this is where the mages would be standing around summoning the thing and then binding it and doing these kind of rituals, which I think was really interesting. And it's really interesting how like just you get this little tiny dialogue box for 3 seconds when you're into an area saying the name of the area, and it tells you so much about it. But it's just, you know, like
it tells you again. It tells you so much about.
Okay, I should say it has the potential to tell you so much about the place. But it's only there for a couple of seconds, and they could do more with that. I can't help but feel like they could do more.
Yeah, they could. Every time you go into the area, they should do a short little cutscene, right? I would be okay with that.
That would frustrate so many people, dude.
First time you go into it, has a short little cutscene, and then you can turn it back on.
Give us like in our journal or something. Give us like a lore tab in our journal saying, "Hey, I went to this area and this and this and this about it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That might make everyone happy. But yeah, I'd love to see the cutscenes.
I know Praetorium pissed a lot of people off. But I mean, don't have to make long cutscenes. Just like, you know, when you enter an area, it's like 5-10 seconds or something like that, 15 seconds. Yeah. Do that for every time you enter a new part of the dungeon, maybe, if you have these different little areas. And then kind of have little parts of that dungeon make sense as to what that name.
Yeah, and it totally would make more sense. I'd be down to clown with that, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's not going to happen.
Okay, so the pyramid and the glory hole, we kind of went over that, right?
Yeah, and the fact that the pyramid is, you know, basically this massive, you know, phallic celebration of Mhaki culture. It's very, very similar, you know, the same sort of hubris and vainglory, very similar to the kind of thing we see in ancient Egypt. And like I say, they've built themselves. That's my other alarm. Ignore that.
That one's loud and annoying, man. That was hard.
That is loud and annoying. It's supposed to be loud and annoying. It's supposed to wake me up.
That's my exact alarm.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Oh God, I hate it. I hate it. So we've got this stage where they can go and sort of circle jerk over their accomplishments of destroying this entire city and committing genocide. So like I say, a lot of fellas, they've always been scumbags. Always. Ever since they showed up here, they haven't done anything good. Don't get me started on Lalafellas.
Yeah. And Kurt's showing her frustration because she hears that alarm every time I have to wake up.
Sorry.
You kind of triggered her there. Okay. All right. So let's take some more of these questions here. Zor Tank, I think that's how you say your name. Sorry again, you saw my wonderful ways I pronounce things here on the show. Hey, Ethys, why is Sephirot called Sephirot since the name has been taken from Kabbalah?
It's taken from the Kabbalah.
Kabbalah, okay.
Yeah, it's a term from Jewish mysticism. So Sephirot is a term for the various aspects of God, right? And how they're you know, present, observable in different things. And altogether they make up, you've seen the symbol of like the tree of life, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the origins of that.
Bahamut. the Bahamut
Yeah,
fight.
yeah. It's on the ground there, and that's a Mercidian reference as well, because as we know, Sephirot was the primal of the peoples from Mericidia. So there's a connection there with the Mericidian dragons. Now, the reason why the Sephirot is represented the way he is, firstly, is a giant tree man, tree of life, giant tree man. Secondly, it's telling us, and I've done a video on this. You guys should check out my video on Sephirot. It's one that I'm quite happy with, quite proud of.
Okay.
But basically, what it's implying is that Sephirot is a god of everything. It's not like primals are like this one aspect of something. Think of Good King Moogle. They think of him as like this ancient hero.
Right.
Sephirot is in a league above that. He is the god of everything as far as these people are concerned. They've invested so much in him. The idea is to indicate his sort of power, and in turn, the difference for the warrior of light in between defeating something like Ifrit and defeating something like Sephirot is just in another league entirely. So it's supposed to give, I guess, an idea, firstly, of his elemental leaning and his sort of aesthetics, and on the other hand, an idea of the magnitude and the power of this creature.
Well, I think to continue on with that, he also said that he's supposed to be like peaceful, but in Final Fantasy, he's kind of like a fiend of sorts, right? So it seems a little bit weird in that sense.
Yeah, but I mean, plenty of primals that we know, and plenty, names of gods and stuff like that are supposed to be relatively peaceful. Although that said, Greek gods, Norse gods, Egyptian gods, they were always a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, Odin was a bit of a dick. Odin liked to, mess people up pretty bad. But, you know what I mean? It's like we see lots of instances of that, and we'll see lots more.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to Scorer's question here. Aren't dragons not from Heidelin, but from Midgar Summer and from outer space?
Yeah. So we've had a couple different stories about the origins of Midgardsormr. The first is the sort of Aeolian, religious idea of his origins, is that he was created by Altic and Nemea to guard Silvertear Falls, which is, the wellspring, the origin point of the growth of the world, of ether and of water. What Midgardsormr explained to us is that he actually came to Heidelin from outer space, presumably, when it was this sort of young little, planetoid, or this newly born star or whatever, and came with his 7 eggs and sort of made a deal with Heidelin. Was like, hey, dude, I'm going to settle here. I'm going to, raise my children here. My children are going to raise children, going to raise children, going to raise children, going to raise children. And Heidelin was like, yeah, dude, fine. But, there's this fucking Zodiac thing that I've just had to deal with. And, maybe you could help me out with that at some point. I need help with that. And as a result, Midgardsormr became what I like to think of as basically the first warrior of light.
Huh.
And it's sort of, Heidelin's like ace in the hole in a lot of ways.
That's actually a pretty interesting way to explain that, too. That makes... See, we need more of that, right? We need more of that, like, super dumbed down kind of like, hey, man, I want to stay here. I'm going to have some kids, and I'm just going to start raising them here, and they're going to have some kids, too. It's going to be a good place for us.
They need to dumb down the dialogue, like Midgardsormr, rather than speaking in iambic pentameter. He just needs to come up and be like, hey, dog, what's up?
Hey, dog, what's up? Exactly, man.
Midi in the house.
Wervin King here. He wants to know, what are your thoughts on Tiamat bleeding corrupted Aether in Azelah, and your thoughts on corrupted Aether in general?
Okay, so yeah, it does seem that Tiamat is bleeding corrupted Aether. Now, corrupted Aether is something that's become, I guess, over-aspected. As far as we can tell in most cases, it's something... So Aether has different, like, elemental leanings, right? It can lean towards fire, it can lean towards ice, it can lean towards wind. If it leans too far it basically becomes very unstable. And that's when we see like those crackling bits like around Mordona, and it all gets like that weird discoloration. That's basically what's happened is you've put too much ether into something and it's become, I guess, cancerous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the best way to explain it. Now the thing about Tiamat is she's still got her eyes, so she's still got a shitload of ether in her body, which means that her blood is very ether rich, and as that drips and as that hits the land, it causes the land to corrupt. That's what's going on there.
Okay. I buy it, man. Buy
Good.
it for $1. MV. Question: did Ozma destroy Nim then, or was Nim just the leftovers of what Ozma absorbed? Yeah, we went into that. We had that like whole discussion.
Ozma. Well, it seems that there were like several stages of the destruction of Nim. First, there was the Tomberry plague, and everyone that got transformed into Tomberries. It seems to have been like a military decision. It was like a lot of their tacticians and stuff like that. They were shot off in the Wanderer's Palace. It significantly, weakened the tactical resources of Nim, which is the thing that Nim had over like everyone else, was they had these scholars that were tactical geniuses. Then they flew Ozma in to just blow up the center of the city and suck it into a black hole. And then they just pieced out and they were like, well, that's done. They're fucked. So there's still like bits of Nim that like the Mhaki didn't really bother to clean up, either because the flood came along or because of, which I think is quite likely, they just figured that the job was done,
Okay. I'm not gonna say your name right. I'm sorry, man. Kagrin. Question for the streamers: how long would it take, roughly, for a new character to experience all the lore in the game?
All of it, from 2.0 up to here, because when you talk about all the lore in the game, you're talking about like all of the job quests, all of the class quests, all of the side quests. We're talking about everything.
Yeah.
Talking about every quest, every bit of dialogue, every cutscene. Oh, dude, I don't know.
Years?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've probably got like, I think I got like 600 hours of game time at the moment.
Okay.
And most of the work that I do for the channel, I'm not logged into the game while I do it. So
we'll go with 600 hours then. Yeah.
We'll go with 600 hours. How about that?
Yeah, if you like lore, commit yourself to 600 hours. So. All right. So Ethys has.
Sorry, 600. Did I say 600 hours? I meant 600 days.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I've clocked up 600 days.
So that's about close to 2 years. Close to 2 years. Yeah. All right. Kerr wants to know: have you done the Moogle Beast Tribe quest yet, and how do you feel about the story they have?
No, I haven't started them yet. I have got most of my crafters at 50. I don't have any at 60, so it's like a good thing for me to have this to be able to have an excuse to level my crafters. Honestly, at the moment, I'm focusing all of my in-game time on getting my relic done, on getting my anima done, I should say. So yeah, Moogle's going to wait until after that.
You got to do the Moogles, man.
Yeah,
like, I haven't done them, but from what Kerr tells me, they're ace. They're good.
Yeah, I have been hearing that.
So they make up for 3.0. All right. Jasat, has the Thorn Prince ever been mentioned in Final Fantasy XIV, or are the new ninja anima the first reference of them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first reference. Now, the interesting thing about all the animas, the new ones, I should say, is they're making really vague references. You got something like Ron Gomiant. It's making a very clear reference. It's particular historical thing. Whereas when you're throwing around these allusions like the Black Khan, the White Tsar, the Thorn Prince, they're a little bit more esoteric. I'm still yet to dig into this. I think that the Thorn Prince is definitely making, like I say, an esoteric historical reference. Whether we're going to see a Thorn Prince in Eorzea or in Hydaelyn remains to be seen. So no, I don't think it's been mentioned anywhere else yet. It's spelled Thorn, Thorn, just confirm that for me, whoever asked the question.
Yeah, that's how it was spelled on there.
That's how it's spelled. Now, we do know that there's a Thorn dynasty of Uldar, which came between the first and second Uld dynasty, so about, what was it, like 500 years ago. But that's spelled Thorne. So there's not a clear connection there. So, yeah, I don't know. Can't answer that.
Okay. Let's dive in a little bit to the future here to kind of wrap up the parts of this section here. So where's all this stuff taking us, man?
Where's it going?
Yeah, where are we going?
Well, again, my working theory is that someone's going to try to use the Null Stone, and someone's been manipulating us all along, and there is quite possibly Koshi, who's either working for himself and wanting to, crown himself king of the Voidscent, or else he's been working for Scathach all along, and Scathach needed us to get the Null Stone for her.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I mean, that's what Fadai was trying to do, was trying to get the Null Stone off of us. It was awfully convenient that he showed up once we'd already dealt with the Guardian. So, yeah, I think that they were probably terrified of Calofisteri, and they needed us to deal with her. Whether or not Koshi is in on that will remain to be seen, but that's definitely my working theory at the moment, is that we're being played by him.
Okay. All right, and this other question, I forget exactly why I asked this, but what is Yuffami?
Yefayemi.
Yefayemi.
So you would have been asking that because all of the gear that we pick up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The city of Mark, it's called Yefayemi.
Okay.
Now that's referring to the area in which the city is situated. It's called the Yefayem Saltmore.
Okay.
That's all that's. Yeah.
That's it. All right.
That's it. That's all there is to that.
Okay. All right. And the other question I asked was about the cat, but we already went into the cat.
We've nailed the cat. Nailed the cat to the wall.
Do you have an idea, if you had to guess right now about where the next dungeon is going to be, where could you expect it to actually be?
I want it to be in a place called Dunskaith. Dunskaith is the historical castle of Queen Scathach in northern Scotland. There's still ruins of it there. And it translates to Fortress of Shadows. So I want us to go into the void, to Scathach's lair in Dunskaith, and to take the fight to her. That's what I want to see. That's what I think we're looking at. When we look at the concept art and we see the Void Ark that's sort of hovering above this castle. Yeah. I originally thought that castle was probably going to be the city of Mark. It's not. I think it's probably Dunskaith.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right. So let's finish up some of these other questions here. We have one more serious question here, and then we'll go into these kind of trollier questions here to wrap up the show. That be starred Oni. Both Nidhogg and Bahamut have demonstrated an ability to transform humans into draconic thralls. Do we know if this is a primal ability, Bahamut being a primal when he did this to Nail, or is it a draconic ability?
Well, it's both. So the primals, a couple of primals have done this. Leviathan loves doing this one. You see the drowned reavers. You see when we went into Sestasha hard mode, how a lot of the pirates in there had started to get these sort of, these squid features. Now, what that is when he tempers someone multiple times, they start to lose their physical appearance. They start to become more and more monstrous and more like his image. So what Bahamut has done to Nail is two things. Nail was already technically dead when Bahamut tempered him. Nail's ether is dispersing. Bahamut's seen it dispersing and has gone, nah, I want that dude. That's my bitch. And he's like pulled as much of it together as he can and tried to put it back together. And that's why, that's the explanation we get firstly for why Nail appears as a woman, is that the only image that Bahamut could grab onto was these really strong memories of Nail's. It was either of his mother or of this woman, Bradamante, whom he named his spear after. Now, what happens when Nail takes the more draconic appearance is basically Bahamut is tempering the shit out of him.
Okay.
The difference with Nidhogg, now the thing that connects all of the citizens of Ishgard is that their forefathers ate a little bit of Dragon's Eye. They ate a little bit of Ratatoska's eye. They've got a little bit of Ratatoska's essence entangled with their own. So what happens is when they drink just a tiny little bit of dragon's blood, that essence takes over and they get this draconic appearance. It sort of affects this transformation in them. So the answer to your question is both Nidhogg and Bahamut are capable of doing these things. They do it in very different ways. They do it for very different reasons. For Nidhogg, it's so that he can... Basically, he doesn't have to expend his own forces. He can use Ishgardians, he can transform them into dragons and get them to fight against themselves. And it's a way to perpetuate his war over the centuries without having to put many of his own people in harm's way.
Okay. That was an excellent answer to that, by the way. So I expect just as much of one from this. Cryo wants to know if Ozma... Oh, this is like way from the beginning of the show. Why does Ozma make beepity boopity beeping booping sounds?
I haven't. I think I know what you mean when he's like transforming. He's like making these beep boops. Yeah. He's making these weird noises. So Ozma, it's not clear what Ozma is. You know what I mean? Ozma is not a primal, not a Voidscent. Ozma seems to be again. When Heidel and Zodiac split, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about this, but it fractured creation into various different dimensions. And it seems that what the Mhaki have done is they've either cornered one of these dimensions and put it in a bubble using a shitload of ether and worked out some way to control it and move it around through our space. Well, the bubble being this singularity, this portal to that other dimension. The other is that they've observed what has happened with the splitting of Heidel and Zodiac, and that they've created their own little pocket dimension. So the beat boops are because it's a thing that they've created. I don't know. It's not making noises that you would expect, a creature of Voidscent or a primal to make.
Right. Okay. This wasn't a question. This was like a statement. And I think Kerr, he even said this to you, but you're like, no, I'm going to take this question anyways. And Jim Link said, what are we doing in Weeping City, wiping to Ozma? That's a statement. How many times have you watched? Have you? It was a statement. It says, what are we doing in Weeping City, wiping to Ozma? That was all.
So why are we wiping to Ozma in particular?
Yeah, why are we wiping just to Ozma?
Ozma obliterated a city.
Yeah.
Like from a lore and canonical standpoint, Ozma is one of the most dangerous things that we have ever faced.
Okay. So he should be killing us.
Yeah, he should be difficult.
Okay. So grow some, guys. We got it. Just eventually people, this is the same thing that happens with a lot of 24-man. It's like people have problems with it for a first month or so, and then like it's easy and everyone's complaining about how easy it is.
Yeah, you guys will be bored and snoozing in there in no time, don't worry.
Yeah. Anarikan did I'm going to try to say it the way Koshi, yeah. Did Kashi get its crown from the Culinary Guild store? Is Kashi a culinarian? Where's the flying front? I could see that.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever played Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Well, the thing is, Koshi is a familiar. I can't imagine that the mages were doing their own cooking. So I'd say that Koshi is probably, a reasonably leveled culinarian.
Yeah, why not, man? Mitoso. I think I'm saying that right. You're in here all the time, but for some reason, I don't know. Ethys, are you Shia LaBeouf's sexier Australian brother?
See, I still don't get that. I've had people making that comparison for such a long time. I don't see it. Do you see it? Hang on, I'll take the glasses off. I don't see it.
I don't see it. We're a little bit too similar, I think, though, right now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah,
We
you're
got
flattering
to
yourself
change
there
this up a
bit.
little bit more next time I get you on the show. Maybe get different color shirts.
You know, I did this deliberately, right? You know, I
Yeah.
normally wear like a t-shirt or whatever, but I was like, nah, Frosty, MogTalk, that's some classy shit right there. I gotta wear a
super
collared
classy.
shirt. Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
yeah, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad you got the black headphones at least, and so now we're kind of like opposite there, right? We got something
Yeah.
going on.
Oh, so I'm like the evil Frosty.
Of course. If there's an evil
I'm
good
like,
thing going on, you're definitely
do
the
you
evil
watch
one, man.
do you watch Community?
I haven't watched Community.
So there's like this alternate evil dimension where like everyone looks exactly the same, except they've got like goatees.
Yeah, that's
So
the
like
typical one.
it's the black headphones. I'm the evil alternate dimension Frosty.
Yeah, yeah, on the other side of the world.
Yeah, on the other side of Ozma.
Yeah, you're on the other side of the glory hole receiving. Okay. Yes,
Wait,
I know what a glory
receiving?
hole is, guys.
Why am I receiving?
I don't know. That's what you like doing, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today, Ethys. This has been actually a good, nice, enjoyable show.
yeah, it's always great fun. We have some good chats.
Yeah. Okay. And you've done the tour, the Weeping City, right?
Yeah, I've done a Weeping City Lore tour. You can check that out on my channel right now. That came out 12 hours ago, so it's hot.
So if you guys are still interested in hearing about it, go there and listen to an actual well-produced piece of content and listen to it, and then maybe you can get some good information out of that. But yeah, man. All right, so you're possibly going to start streaming again. Right now, you're only doing content creation, though, right?
Yeah, so I was telling you before the show that I saw some guys like up at the top of my street, like rolling out some fiber optics, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we're running out of fiber optics." And I'm like, "All right, so when's my internet going to be good enough for streaming?" And they're like, "Could we, between 1 and 8 months." So if you guys follow me on Twitter, if you follow me on YouTube, keep your ears peeled. Is that possible? Is that a thing?
Eyes peeled. I think is eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes peeled
you try
and
to
keep
peel
your
it
ears
off.
Yeah. Don't peel your ears off. You're gonna need those on.
Keep them open. I guess.
So peel your eyes and don't peel your ears.
Yeah.
Leave your ears as they are. They seem to be working pretty well. Maybe clean them out.
Unless if you love someone a lot and you just want to give it to them.
Always wash your ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to do that because when I do get this upgrade, I don't know when it's going to be, but I will be going to a regular stream schedule. So you can you can consider that a confirmation. But yeah, as you guys probably know, most of what I do is on YouTube.
Yeah, and if someone here, Kerr or someone else modding, can just get that link in the chat so people can have that as easy access, although it's pretty easy to find
For the YouTube, it's just youtube.com/Ethys Asher.
Yeah. Very easy to find.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at Ethys FFXIV.
Yeah, and there you go. Please follow this guy if you care about lore at all. Pretty much the main lore guy in the scene at the moment. There are others, but
arguably,
prominent.
Arguably.
Yeah. Arguably. We're not arguing about it.
I'm never going to
right
be comfortable with that title when people start saying, "Oh yeah, Ethys, he's the king of lore, he's the lore master." I'm like, nah, dog, that ain't me. I just really like lore.
I'm just a big dork, man.
I'm just a great big nerd.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching the show. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Is there any shout outs or anything else that you want to do for anyone before we get off the show here?
Not really, to be honest. I really would, if you guys care about gaming in like a broader sense and you're interested in issues like mental health, like LBGT advocacy, do check out my new podcast. Give it a chance, The Lucid Grind. You can see it on my YouTube channel. It's very important to me. I think out of all the projects I'm working on at the moment, it's the one that is most close to my heart, and I just hope that as many people can be positively affected by it as they can. So yeah, have a go at that.
Yeah,
if you've got
the
time.
Yeah, they're a really, really good, awesome podcast out there to listen to, and this is a new one that you guys should definitely jump into if you are at all interested. This is an awesome guys. Hopefully by the end of the show, you've realized that by now. So Thank you very much, Kerr, for collecting all the questions as well.
Yes,
artwork,
thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you for the artwork, Blizana, the music at the very beginning of the show from Tari. And we will have MogTalk for next week. I haven't had it completely worked out with all the details, but it's looking like we're going to do the A7 show, or A7S, show, where we actually go into that and break it down into detail. And that's always a lot of fun. I'll probably talk to Balana and Ark again and see if they want to come back and do the next segment, because it's been a while since we did one of those shows. But I think that I'm definitely at a point to where I can talk about it a lot better now, too. We need to host somebody at this. Or do you have someone that we need to host? And if you say Sly, because Sly's always available, but man, if you say him, I'm going to be like, man.
What, you think Sly doesn't need any help?
No, man. After you get partnered, you don't need help anymore. You're done. You're done. It doesn't actually look like he's streaming. He usually is.
Sly's not streaming. No one is.
Where's everybody at? Are they at like E3 or something? What are they doing?
People at E3's over, dude.
Oh, that's right. It's a week thing.
Habs is hosting .got, but no, he doesn't have anyone. Let's have a look who's playing Final Fantasy XIV real quick.
Looking at it right now. Not too many names here that I recognize.
I don't recognize any of these names at all. Okay, let's give a follow to Lucky Ariane. I know that name.
Lucky Ariane?
Lucky Ariane. You see that? Ultros. I had soup today. Guys, soup?
Soup? What?
No way. Soup.
Is that his title? What? Oh.
No. Yeah, the title is I had soup today.
I had soup today, and they're playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't see them, man.
Hang on.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. I found it.
Which? You want the link?
I got it.
All
I
right,
see it.
you got it.
Ultros. I had soup today.
Yeah. Cheers to your job, Frosty.
I'm doing my job. Hold the freak up. Jeez.
Fucking amateur.
You call me an avatar? You freaking
avatar?
I called you
an. I called you an amateur.
Amateur? I'm an amateur? Yeah, I know, Arthas. I gotcha. But you aren't streaming right now anyways, so what's the point? Anyways, right. I don't pick the people we host. I let other people pick the people we host, so I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to take any kind of heat.
If it's shit, it's on me.
Yes, it's all on Ethys. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching, and we're going to do a host here in just a second. And we're going to do our awkward wave, and bye!
Bye!
Bye, guys!
See you guys! Take care!
Bye!